The bright lights of the Galactic Council chambers shone down on the hundreds of alien representatives seated in the curved rows that stretched up toward the ceiling. The room buzzed with nervous energy as Ambassador Tay walked to the speaking platform. His purple scales glittered under the lights, and his forearms moved in the formal greeting pattern of the Vespid Dominion. "Esteemed members of the Council," Tay began, his translator device converting his clicks and chirps into the standard galactic language. "I come before you with troubling news about the species we recently discovered on the third planet of the Sol system." The chamber grew quiet. First contact missions were common enough, but something in Tai's tone caught everyone's attention, as is standard procedure. After our deep space monitors detected their primitive radio signals, we sent a hive scouting fleet to assess their threat level before making official contact. Tay's upper hands tapped nervously on the podium. "The fleet has not returned." Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. The hive scouts were among the most advanced ships in the galaxy, equipped with technology that could easily overpower most developing civilizations. "We sent a stealth observer to investigate," Tay continued. "The humans destroyed the entire scout fleet, all 15 ships, lost." The council president, a tall blue-skinned being named Q, leaned forward. "How is this possible? Our records show these humans have only achieved basic space travel. They haven't even colonized their own moon permanently." Tay clicked his mandibles in the Vespid gesture of uncertainty. "That's what puzzles us. Physically, they are unremarkable. They lack the strength of the Gore people, the speed of the Na'vi, or the natural armor of my own kind. Their senses are dull compared to most species here. They have no claws, no venom, no telepathy." Images appeared on the large screen behind him. Humans going about their daily lives walking on two legs, with their soft skin and strange fur only on their heads. "Their technology is at least a century behind the galactic standard," Tay said. "Their weapons should have been useless against hive shields, yet somehow, when threatened, they not only defended themselves, but did so with a level of effectiveness that our military analysts cannot explain." Jin, the representative from the ancient Moru collective, stood up. Perhaps they received help. Could the Orion Alliance be secretly supporting them? "We considered that," Tay replied. "But our scans show no evidence of advanced tech beyond their own making. Whatever they used to defeat the scouts, they built themselves." The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. A supposedly primitive species had somehow defeated one of the most advanced fighting forces in the galaxy. "There's more," Tay said after a moment. The observer managed to intercept some of their communications before returning. The humans didn't seem surprised by the attack. In fact, they've been preparing for alien contact, possibly hostile contact, for over a century. They have thousands of fictional scenarios about alien invasions. They've been mentally rehearsing this moment before they even knew we existed. Bomi, the small, furry representative from the Lumi Federation, spoke up. "So they're paranoid. Many young species go through this phase." "It's more than that," Tay insisted. "Most species imagine contact with more advanced civilizations as either a blessing or a doom they cannot avoid. Humans are different. In nearly all their imagined scenarios, no matter how technologically outmatched they are, they fight, and they win." He played a brief clip of human entertainment, scenes from their movies showing humans facing impossible odds against alien invaders, yet somehow prevailing through clever tricks, unexpected strategies, or sheer determination. "They don't just hope to survive contact with more advanced species," Tay explained. "They've spent generations convincing themselves they can defeat anyone who threatens them, no matter how strong the enemy appears to be." The council president rubbed his long blue fingers together thoughtfully. "Interesting psychological profile. But fantasies don't win real battles. There must be something we're missing." "I agree," said Tay, "which is why I propose we send a diplomatic mission to Earth immediately. We need to understand what we're dealing with. These humans don't have the numbers, the physical advantages, or the technology to be a major threat. Yet they defeated our scouts with apparent ease." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes, stalks, and sensory organs of his fellow council members. "Something about these humans makes them far more dangerous than they appear. Until we understand what that is, I strongly advise against any further military action. We need observers on the ground, scientists, cultural specialists, military analysts. We need to solve this puzzle before we decide how to proceed. The Council voted almost unanimously to approve the mission. As the session ended, Ambassador Tay couldn't shake a feeling of dread. In all his years representing the Vespid in galactic politics, he had never encountered a species that defied explanation like these humans. What could possibly make such physically unimpressive creatures so formidable? The answer, he suspected, might change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The sleek diplomatic vessel touched down at the international spaceport, built specifically for this historic occasion. Ambassador June stepped onto Earth soil, his silvery skin reflecting the sunlight, as he blinked his large eyes to adjust to Earth's brightness. Behind him came his team, Mina, the military analyst with her datapad constantly recording, Sun, the xenobiologist whose extra limbs carried various sampling tools, and several other specialists chosen for this crucial mission. "Welcome to Earth," said the human representative, a woman who introduced herself as Director Park. "We've arranged a comprehensive tour to help you understand our society." June nodded respectfully. "We appreciate your hospitality. Our goal is simple observation and cultural exchange." What he didn't mention was the Council's urgent directive: figure out how these seemingly ordinary beings had destroyed an advanced scouting fleet. The fate of future diplomatic relations, or possibly war, hung on what they discovered. Their first stop was a large office building in the city center. The aliens watched in silent confusion as humans sat for hours staring at screens, occasionally walking to get drinks or chat with colleagues. "I don't understand," Sun whispered to June. "They're so sedentary. How did beings like this defeat our ships?" June had no answer. These humans looked nothing like warriors. Later that day, they visited what the humans called a gym. Here, the picture became even more confusing. The same species that had spent hours sitting still were now running nowhere on moving platforms, lifting heavy objects repeatedly and sweating profusely, all voluntarily. "This is how many humans stay physically healthy," explained Park. "We call it exercise." Mina leaned closer to June. "They're training their bodies, pushing to exhaustion, but for what purpose? They're not being forced to do this." Even more puzzling, after watching humans strain and struggle at the gym, the delegation was taken to an entertainment center where the same species now sat passively, watching moving images on screens while consuming food that their guide admitted was unhealthy. "Their behavior contradicts itself," Sun noted in her recorder. "They push themselves to physical limits without necessity, then deliberately engage in activities they know are harmful." The next day brought them to a school. Young humans chased each other in organized games that, June realized with shock, simulated hunting and combat. Later, they watched older children playing with devices that displayed realistic warfare scenarios. "There's just a video game," their guide explained when she noticed their discomfort. "Entertainment." But June and his team exchanged troubled glances. These weren't just games. The children were practicing strategy, resource management, and tactical thinking while believing they were merely playing. The military base they visited afterward only confirmed their growing suspicions. Adult humans in uniform practiced combat maneuvers repeatedly, preparing for battles they claimed they hoped would never happen. "We maintain peace through strength," explained the base commander, a stocky man named Captain Kim. "We train constantly, so we're ready for anything." In the evening, their host took them to something called a movie theater. The film featured humans facing an invasion by fictional aliens, vastly superior in technology and strength. Yet somehow, the humans in the story prevailed through cleverness, sacrifice, and sheer determination. Back in their temporary quarters that night, the delegation compared notes. "I think I understand now," Mina said quietly. "Everything we've seen points to the same conclusion. Humans are constantly preparing mentally and physically for conflict." Sun nodded. "Even their entertainment serves this purpose. Those stories they consume, they're not just diversions. They're mental rehearsals for facing overwhelming odds." June paced the room. "The Council needs to understand this. These humans spend their lives switching between extremes, comfort and stress, relaxation and exertion. They voluntarily experience discomfort to become stronger. They imagine defeat repeatedly so they can visualize victory. The next day brought their most disturbing discovery. Their guide took them to what humans called a library, a building filled with recorded information. With special permission, they accessed the digital archives, scanning through thousands of years of human history and fiction. "By the stars," whispered Sun as she reviewed the data. "Their entire history is an unbroken chain of conflict, with nature, with other species, with each other. Most species evolve past their violent periods, but humans, they've incorporated it into their culture." Mina pulled up more records. "Look at this. When they're not fighting real wars, they create fictional ones. They've imagined every possible scenario. Invasions from space, conflicts with machines, battles against forces of nature. They've mentally rehearsed facing every conceivable threat." June felt a chill run through his body. "Now I understand how they defeated our scout fleet. When our ships appeared, they weren't shocked or paralyzed by fear, like most developing species would be. For them, it was just another scenario they'd already imagined countless times." Later that evening, while their human hosts thought they were resting, June sent an urgent encrypted message to the Galactic Council. "Initial assessment complete," he reported. "These humans appear physically unremarkable, and their technology is indeed primitive compared to ours. But they possess something far more dangerous than advanced weapons or natural abilities. They have minds constantly prepared for conflict and bodies trained to endure stress. They find entertainment in imagining worst-case scenarios and overcoming them. They deliberately subject themselves to discomfort to become stronger." He paused, considering his next words carefully. "I strongly advise against any hostile action. These humans don't just fight when they must. They spend their entire lives preparing for challenges they hope will never come. The defeat of our scout fleet wasn't luck. It was the inevitable result of a species that has turned preparation for adversity into an art form." The grand banquet hall glittered with decorations meant to honor both human and alien customs. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting warm light over the long tables where the diplomatic delegation sat with Earth's representatives. Ambassador June sat beside the human secretary of global relations, a poised woman named Director Lee, while his team was spread throughout the room to observe human social behaviors up close. Servers moved efficiently between tables, bringing out plates of carefully prepared dishes designed to accommodate the different biological needs of all guests. The atmosphere was pleasant, with the gentle hum of conversation and occasional laughter. June was midway through explaining the Galactic Council's structure to Director Lee when a commotion erupted from the kitchen area. Smoke began pouring through the swinging doors, followed by a shout of alarm. "Fire in the kitchen," someone called out. June immediately tensed, his hand moving instinctively to the emergency transport device hidden beneath his formal attire. Around him, his team did the same, ready to evacuate according to their safety protocols. But what happened next froze them in place. 3 humans from different parts of the room, a server, a security guard, and one of the diplomats, instantly abandoned their positions and rushed toward the smoke. They didn't hesitate, didn't look to others for guidance, didn't wait for instructions. They simply moved toward the danger. "What are they doing?" whispered Sun, the xenobiologist, who had edged closer to June. Before anyone could respond, the building's automated systems finally detected the smoke. Her calm voice announced over the speakers, "Fire detected. Please proceed to the nearest exit in an orderly fashion. Emergency responders have been notified." But the 3 humans had already disappeared into the kitchen. "Shouldn't we evacuate?" Fina asked Director Lee, who remained surprisingly calm. "The professionals will handle it," Lee replied, watching the kitchen doors. "Our emergency systems are quite advanced." Yet it wasn't the emergency systems that resolved the situation. Less than a minute later, the 3 humans emerged from the kitchen. One carried a fire extinguisher, another held a wet cloth over a small burn on his arm, and the third gave a thumbs-up signal to the room. "All clear," announced the diplomat who had rushed in. "Just a small grease fire. It's completely out now." The room broke into applause, and the dinner resumed as if nothing unusual had happened. But June and his team exchanged meaningful glances. They had witnessed something profound. Later, when the humans asked if they would like a tour of the building's security center, June politely declined, citing fatigue. Back in their private quarters, however, the alien delegation was anything but tired. Did you see how they reacted? Mina paced the room, her analytical mind racing. No hesitation, no confusion. They moved toward the danger instantly. And they coordinated without speaking, added Sun. Different humans with different roles in their society. Yet they functioned as a unit without any apparent command structure. June nodded slowly. Most species have an instinct to flee from danger. It's built into survival mechanisms across the galaxy. Yet these humans, they ran toward it, finished Mina. Something about this behavior triggered a memory for June. He activated the research terminal they'd been given access to and began searching through the historical databases their hosts had provided. Hours passed as the team pored over Earth's history. The more they discovered, the more uneasy they became. Look at this pattern, June finally said, displaying a timeline on the main screen. Every major species we've encountered in the galaxy has followed a similar evolutionary path. A period, of struggle and violence, followed by technological advancement, then gradually evolving toward cooperation and peace as they developed. He pulled up humanity's timeline beside it. But humans never followed this pattern. They've been fighting continuously, against their environment, against predators, against diseases, against each other, for their entire existence. Even when they developed technology that could have given them ease and comfort, they didn't stop preparing for conflict. Sun examined the data with growing concern. It's as if struggle is woven into their identity. They don't just accept hardship when it comes, they deliberately seek it out. She pulled up images from human cultures around their world. People climbing, dangerous mountains for no practical reason, diving into ocean depths, running extreme distances until their bodies nearly collapsed, all voluntarily. They call these challenges and adventures, she noted. Other species avoid unnecessary risk. Humans intentionally pursue it. Mina had been analyzing military history and added her findings. Their warfare evolution is unlike anything I've studied. Most species develop weapons, then social structures to prevent their use. Humans develop weapons, use them, learn from the horror, create rules to limit the damage, break those rules when desperate, create stronger rules, and repeat. The cycle, all while constantly improving the weapons. June stared at the accumulated data, a realization dawning. They've been preparing for us without knowing it. Not us specifically, but the concept of us, any external threat. Every challenge they've faced, every war they've fought, every disaster, they've survived. It's all been training. He pulled up the footage from the kitchen incident, replaying the moment when the three humans instantly moved toward the fire rather than away from it. This is why they defeated our scout fleet. When facing danger, they don't just respond. They've been rehearsing their response their entire lives, both as individuals and as a species. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. We need to report this to the Council immediately, June finally said. The humans aren't dangerous because of their technology or their physical abilities. They're dangerous because they've spent their entire existence learning how to overcome adversity. They don't just adapt to challenges, they're addicted to them. As the night deepened, June composed his most urgent message yet to the Galactic Council. The humans' reaction to a simple kitchen fire had revealed more about their true nature than days of formal observation. These weren't just another emerging species to be evaluated and possibly guided into the galactic community. These were beings shaped by endless conflict, who ran toward danger rather than away from it, who seemed to thrive when challenged. And now, with the knowledge that they weren't alone in the universe, June feared what might happen if the humans ever felt truly threatened by what lay beyond their skies. Commander Han's flagship loomed over the small Earth colony of New Horizon, a settlement of barely 5,000 humans on a distant moon that had only been established 3 years earlier. The massive warship cast a shadow across the research facilities and agricultural domes that dotted the lunar surface. In the command center of his vessel, Han's reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. "This will be swift," he told his officers, who stood at attention around the tactical display. "These humans have no military presence here. Our intelligence shows this is just scientists and farmers. After the humiliation our scout fleet suffered, it's time to show the galaxy the true might of our forces." Han had disobeyed direct orders from the Galactic Council. After Ambassador Jun's reports about humans' unusual behaviors, the Council had voted for peaceful engagement. But Han couldn't accept the defeat of their scout fleet by what he saw as primitive beings. His pride demanded retribution. "Begin." "The attack," he commanded. "Target their communication array first, then their power generators. I want this over before the Council even knows what's happening." The first energy blast struck the colony's main communication tower, sending a plume of debris into the low-gravity environment. Han expected panic, surrender, or futile attempts at negotiation. What happened instead left him and his bridge crew watching their screens in stunned silence. Instead of chaos, the human colony erupted into organized activity. Within minutes of the first strike, the colony's emergency protocols had activated. But not in the way any of the aliens expected. Rather than huddling in shelters, the colonists moved with purpose and coordination that seemed impossible for a non-military population. "Sir," reported Han's tactical officer, "they're activating some kind of defensive system, but our scans didn't detect any military-grade weapons during our approach." On the surface below, Dr. Yuna Kim, the colony's lead agricultural scientist, had transformed her greenhouse into a command center. Gray-haired and in her 60s, she issued orders with the confidence of a seasoned general. "Redirect power from the eastern hydroponic bays to the shield generators," she called out to her team of researchers. "Jin, take your chemistry team, and prepare the fertilizer compounds according to Protocol Delta." Elsewhere in the colony, 12-year-old Sung and his friends were racing through the residential quarters, carrying supplies and helping younger children to designated safe areas. But these weren't ordinary safe areas. Each shelter had been designed with multiple functions in mind, defense as well as protection. "Remember your drills," Sung called out to the other children. "Team 1 on communication relays, Team 2 on medical support, Team 3 on barrier construction." The children moved without fear or confusion, each performing tasks they had practiced dozens of times just for fun in what the adults had presented as games. In the research lab, Dr. Park, a physicist, worked frantically with his team to repurpose their experimental atmospheric equipment. "The electromagnetic pulse generator was never designed for this," he muttered as he rewired circuits, "but the principles are sound. If we can disrupt their targeting systems even for a few minutes, it gives us time." Above them, Commander Han watched with growing unease as his tactical display showed unexpected resistance forming across the colony. "Sir, our ground forces are reporting heavy resistance," his officer reported with confusion evident in his voice. "The humans have established fortified positions using... Sir, they're using agricultural equipment modified into weapons, and their researchers appear to be deploying some kind of electromagnetic countermeasures against our targeting systems." Han stared at the display, his confidence eroding. "That's impossible. These are scientists and farmers, not soldiers. Where did they learn these tactics?" On the colony surface, the situation grew more bewildering for Han's forces. Elderly colonists who had been tending gardens hours earlier were now coordinating defense efforts with tablets and communication devices, directing resources with the efficiency of military logistics officers. Farmers had converted harvesting vehicles into mobile barriers. Research equipment had been quickly repurposed into improvised weapons. In one section of the colony, a team of geologists led by Dr. Sung had set up a perimeter using mining explosives placed with surgical precision. As the alien ground forces approached, they triggered a series of controlled blasts that created a defensive barrier while minimizing damage to the colony's infrastructure. "Sir," Han's second-in-command spoke hesitantly, "our forward units are being pushed back. The humans are using their knowledge of the terrain and their facilities in ways we didn't anticipate. Most disturbing of all to the alien forces was the complete absence of panic. There were no hysterical civilians, no chaotic evacuations. No breakdown of social order. Instead, the colonists moved with the coordinated purpose of a single organism defending itself. From his observation post several kilometers from the colony, Ambassador June watched the battle unfold alongside his team. They had arrived secretly to continue their observation mission, but never expected to witness an actual attack. "Look at them," Mina whispered, recording everything with her data equipment. "The children are running emergency medical stations. The elderly are coordinating logistics. The scientists have turned research equipment into weapons. It's like the entire colony was prepared for this exact scenario." June nodded slowly, a chill running through him as the pieces fell into place. They were prepared, not specifically for Han's attack, but for any attack, any crisis. This is what we've been seeing all along, but couldn't quite understand. He gestured toward the colony, where a group of botanists had converted their plant growth accelerators into devices that were now disabling the alien troops' environmental suits. Humans don't just fight when they must. They spend their entire lives preparing to fight, even when they're not soldiers. These aren't military personnel, but everyone down there, scientists, farmers, teachers, children, they've all internalized a mindset of preparation. They don't just react to threats, they anticipate them, rehearse for them, build their entire lives around being ready for them. On the colony, a young researcher named G led her team in deploying weather monitoring, drones that had been hastily reprogrammed to interfere with the aliens' communication signals. Beside her, the colony's head chef coordinated a team using kitchen equipment to build barricades. "It's in everything they do," June continued, his voice filled with awe and apprehension. "The games their children play, the stories they tell, the hobbies they pursue, it all trains them for survival and adaptation. They don't compartmentalize crisis response as a specialized skill for soldiers or emergency workers. It's integrated into their entire culture." Above the colony, Commander Han's attack was falling apart. His troops reported that the humans seemed to anticipate their tactics, countering each move before it was fully executed. The colony's improvised defenses were growing stronger rather than weaker with time as the humans adapted and improved their responses with each passing minute. "Retreat," Han finally ordered, his voice hollow with disbelief. "Pull all forces back to the ship." As the alien forces withdrew, leaving behind damaged equipment and confused troops, June turned to his team. "Now I truly understand what makes humans dangerous," he said quietly. "It's not their technology or their strength. It's not even their adaptability, though that's part of it. It's that they've built their entire civilization on a foundation of preparation for adversity. Every human, regardless of their role in society, carries within them the mindset of a survivor, a fighter, a protector." He looked at the colony where the humans were already beginning to repair the damage while maintaining their defensive positions, in case the aliens returned. "The most frightening thing," June added, "is that they seemed almost energized by the attack, as if the crisis brought out something in them that was waiting just below the surface. They don't just endure challenges, they transform under pressure, becoming more focused, more innovative, more unified." As Han's ship withdrew from the moon's orbit in defeat, June knew that his next report to the Galactic Council would change everything they thought they understood about this species from Earth. The humans hadn't just repelled an attack. They had revealed a truth that would send shockwaves through galactic politics. Humans didn't need armies to be dangerous. Every human, from their youngest children to their oldest elders, carried within them the capacity to become warriors when threatened. There was no such thing as a non-combatant human, only humans who hadn't yet been given a reason to fight. The gathering storm. In the massive glass-walled chamber of the Galactic Council, tension hung thick as Ambassador Chen stepped forward. Her footsteps echoed through the silent hall, each step carrying the weight of humanity's fate. The report she carried wasn't just a document, it was a story of human resilience that had left even the most advanced civilizations stunned. Years of observation had revealed something extraordinary about humans. They weren't just survivors, they were something more complex. Where other species would retreat or surrender when faced with impossible odds, humans seemed to ignite. Challenges didn't break them, they fueled them. Take mountain climbers who spend years training to reach impossible peaks. Or scientists who dedicate decades to solving a single complex problem. or communities that rebuild after devastating natural disasters. These weren't just actions, they were statements of human spirit. The council members, representatives from dozens of advanced civilizations, listened intently. Their technology might be superior, their intellect potentially more calculated, but they recognized something uniquely powerful in human psychology. Humans don't just survive, Chen explained, her voice steady. They transform adversity into opportunity. When told something is impossible, they see it as a challenge. When pushed into a corner, they don't just push back. They redesign the entire battlefield. The most striking observation was how humans responded to being underestimated. Instead of feeling defeated, they gathered strength. A collective determination would rise, transforming individual frustration into a unified force. It was almost like a hidden genetic code that activated under pressure. Military strategists had long noted this phenomenon. Historically, human armies would become more dangerous when outnumbered. Small groups would devise ingenious strategies. Individual soldiers would show extraordinary courage. Their adaptability was their greatest weapon. But it wasn't just about physical confrontation. This resilience manifested in every sphere: scientific research, artistic expression, social movements. When faced with complex global challenges like climate change or pandemic responses, humans didn't just react. They innovated, collaborated, and reimagined entire systems. The council members exchanged glances. Their advanced scanning technologies and psychological profiling had captured data, but data couldn't fully explain the human spirit. It was something more profound, a combination of emotional intelligence, creativity, and an inexplicable drive that defied conventional understanding. Chen's final words were measured but powerful. Underestimate humans at your own risk. Their potential isn't just in their technology or physical capabilities, it's in their extraordinary ability to transform challenges into opportunities. The vote was unanimous, not out of fear, but out of respect. The decision: establish peaceful relations and, critically, never provoke humanity. As the meeting concluded, the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had learned a crucial lesson. Strength isn't just about technological superiority. Sometimes it's about spirit, adaptability, and an unbreakable will to progress.